college football season is winding down, or some would say heating up, because first ever 12-team playoff.
And even still, not everybody's happy.
Oh.
You know, that
you want to make people happy in life? Sell ice cream.
Welcome to 1850 Main Street. Come on in and pull up a chair. Today, Rob Walgate from the American Policy Roundtable and Alan C. Duncan, executive producer of the Public Square Media Network, are at the table by the fireplace.
And I know this isn't a sports show per se, but we did do a show a month or so ago regarding salaries, coaches' salaries.
Yes.
The highest paid state employees.
Well, I feel like we can kind of talk about anything as long as we tie it somehow to a public policy. Yeah. So you never know what you're going to get.
Public policy. This is tied to public policy. They just ended what they called rivalry week a few weeks ago. It was the week before the conference championship games, and there's always some big ones: Texas A&M, Auburn, Alabama.
That's a big one around my house. My mom went to Alabama, so that's
Clemson, South Carolina. But many would say that at the top of the list would be Ohio State and Michigan.
Yeah.
And for 4 straight years, Michigan has had the Buckeyes number. And at the conclusion of the game this year, and I was actually watching the game at about 30,000 feet as I was flying to Christmas in America in Nashville. And you could hear people yelling in the frustration, but it ends. And then there was a little bit of a scuffle at midfield, if you will, afterwards.
Mm-hmm. And maybe we can play a little bit of it as we're talking here. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people saw it on X.
A lot of people saw it.
Yeah.
Police were involved. Mace was deployed. People got sprayed. And what happened was Michigan won the game. Yeah. And, I don't know how long this has been going on. I think Baker Mayfield is the one that...
He's got a famous one.
Yeah, he's the guy that did it, and people still talk about. But Michigan players took a flag, the M, and they took it to midfield at Ohio Stadium, and they planted it, and, we're, in essence, laying claim that,
we own the stadium now.
They conquered, they own the stadium.
Yeah, and I think you kind of know what's going to happen when there's going to be a brawl. I'm not saying there should be. I'm not saying it's good or bad, but it's going to happen.
You're going to get a reaction. Yeah. You're going to get a reaction. That's what happened. Buckeye players came out. There was some pushing, shoving, maybe a punch or two thrown. I never understood, though, why are we punching dudes with helmets on?
Yeah, you're just going to break your own hand.
Number two, if you are a player, why would you have your helmet off in that situation?
Yeah.
And I know in past, some have taken them off and used as weapons, but that's neither here nor there.
Hey, I do not stand by that.
The police were involved. They deployed mace, got separated. I think each school received a fine of $100,000. So, pennies for them, that's nothing.
Yeah.
But in response to that, there was a lawmaker in the state of Ohio that introduced a bill, a piece of legislation, because when things go wrong, we need the government to step in and fix it.
Yeah,
right?
You texted me this, and it almost felt like a Babylon Bee headline or something like that, because the text message that you sent me, it's just the X post, because somebody put a video of talking to this gentleman, like in the halls. They were at where were they?
They were at the State House.
They were at the State House.
Josh Williams from Ohio introduced a piece of legislation, and
so his legislation to criminalize planting a flag at midfield after a football game, and it's a felony, right?
Fifth-degree felony. Here's the law.
If this were to go, you've got the language right there.
I got the language of the law. Section 2927.18. No person shall plant a flagpole with a flag attached to it in the center of the football field at Ohio Stadium of The Ohio State University on the day of a college football competition, whether before, during, or after the competition. Whoever violates this section is guilty of a felony of the 5th degree. A violation of this section is a strict liability offense, and Section 2901.20 of the Ohio Revised Code does not apply. So in essence, it's a 5th degree felony, but it's limited to Ohio Stadium. So I guess if you beat Cincinnati at Nippert Stadium, you can go and plant a flag, or if you are playing
any high schools.
Yeah, I mean, listen. I've seen Representative Williams defend this on camera. He did an interview with ESPN talking about it, discussing it.
You're going to make our beautiful state troopers arrest like Archie Manning at the 50-yard line on felony?
Rather than having our state troopers risk injury and have to expose players and fans to mace because there's a violent encounter at the center of our field because teams don't know how to appreciate a rivalry and sportsmanship.
Oh.
This bill is very simple. It's assigned to our institutions. They need to come up with policies that will prevent this in the future.
Yeah, well, the NCAA is going to ban it.
And to the individual athletic programs who clearly have not demonstrated that they learned from this when you have a coach simulating flag planting at a basketball game, that they should be teaching their players that this is above what we need to have at our universities. Dude, I'm all for the rivalry. I'm born in the Toledo Strip. Right?
Yeah. Are you a Buckeye fan?
I'm a Buckeye fan. I'm a season ticket holder. Half my family is Michigan fans. My mom's a Michigan fan. I love the rivalry.
Did you do the campaign expense hustle?
No.
Okay.
I pay out of pocket.
You pay out of pocket? Okay. I respect that. I respect that.
So, yeah, I just want to, maintain the integrity of our rivalry. We have the number one rivalry in the nation. This is bigger than Yankees versus Redskins anymore or Red Sox anymore.
What's going on,
we need to
Red?
preserve it. Right? And we need to preserve our institutions. Imagine if one of our players would have been substantially hurt because of a scuffle over a flag. Imagine if one of our officers would have been hurt. Right?
The NCAA is going to ban it.
This was a violent encounter at the center of our stadium.
I mean, violent. I mean, the violence.
You're watching players being thrown to the ground. You're watching fans rush the field and rip away the flag from players and coaches. This is considered a violent encounter.
Is there any chance it passes in this lame duck session that the Ohio General Assembly is going home for Christmas and a new General Assembly convenes after the first of the year? So there's very little chance of this passing. I just think a lot of current and former Buckeyes thought this was a soft way to handle it.
Oh, yeah. Who did you say? Was it Cardale Jones that sent something out?
Yeah, he sent something out saying, at the end of the day, the game's decided on the field. Is it a problem if that happens? Yeah, it's a major problem. I think it's up to the leadership of both universities, or probably more so the visiting university, to say, hey, let's take care of business on the field. Let's not do anything that's going to cause a fight afterwards. I mean, that's who it lies with.
How about the coaching staff?
Yeah,
how about the coach? Your head coaches say, guys, don't do it. If you do it, you're going to run some laps.
So, yes.
Can I read what some fifth-degree felony? Like, what I want to see what's a fifth-degree felony.
In Ohio,
what else?
Yeah.
This is what I've seen. Tell me if you see more. But I see breaking and entering would be a fifth-degree felony. Theft over $1,000.
Yep.
Forgery under certain circumstances, and possession of certain controlled substances. So planting a flag after a big win would be on the level of breaking and entering or stealing something worth $1,000.
Thanks for stopping by at 1850 Main Street. We're glad you're here. Do you want to learn more about what's really going on behind the scenes in public policy? Tune in to the Public Square on over 200 radio stations coast to coast, or download the free Public Square mobile app from your app store. Just look for The Lamppost. Find out what America's talking about at thepublicsquare.com.
And I can hear people asking, say, well, what's the definition of plant? Like, what's the definition of to plant something? So, Dave Zanotti asked, he said, are Ohio state representatives and state senators going to introduce legislation that says Michigan always starts the game down 7 points when they play at Ohio Stadium? Like, is that what's next? I mean,
well, here's the thing: you need real grass to plant things, anyways, and so that's going to get into another thing. Some of these stadiums don't have real grass.
F5 violations are among the least severe, requiring between 6 and 12 months of imprisonment and up to a $2,500 fine. The court may impose an additional 5 years of community control. Can you imagine? So let's play this out. Guy plants a flag that's a sophomore. Would they do community control? His probation requirement is you're not permitted on the campus of The Ohio State University.
It's crazy.
So he couldn't come back and play when they played again in 2 years.
Oh, my goodness.
So, I mean, I'm just going down the route. Again, very little chance of passing. But you take it to the extreme. I think college football and the NCAA are going to outlaw this measure. Now, I don't know what the penalty will be from them, but I think it's probably going to be better that it's done from them and they hold teams accountable than trying to do it with felonies. You mentioned, it's up to the coaching staff. Well, here was another part of the problem. Michigan's head coach was shown on the big screen at a Michigan basketball game recently, and he was emulating the flag planting. That's what he was doing to get the crowd fired up because they loved it, right?
Right.
I mean, they loved it.
Well, that's the thing. If you don't want someone to plant the flag at midfield, win the game. Like the game is I'm not saying you still should do it, but that's a way to guarantee that a team can't do it. They don't have the bragging rights to do it if you win between the lines during the course of the game. So that's a surefire way to fix it. You don't need to make it felony. And that'd be my other question. Why a felony? Why not a misdemeanor or something like that? A felony?
That's a great question. It is titled, again, and I think this was all done for the publicity and media. It's titled the OHIO, Sportsmanship Act.
Okay.
That's the title of the bill. And this is a quote from Representative Williams. After it happened at 5 separate games during rivalry week, and seeing that there was no immediate movement, I thought it was necessary to send a signal to our institutions of higher learning that they need to come up with policies to prevent this in the future so it doesn't risk harm to our law enforcement officers or student athletes or fans.
Well, and I don't think anybody wants to see law enforcement officers or fans be injured. I don't think anybody thinks that was a good scene at the 50-yard line. But this just seems like an example of just an overreach. And this representative seems like a decent guy. I mean,
good guy. We all have ideas that maybe aren't the best. And again, I think he understands this has zero chance of passing, at least in this General Assembly. I don't see anyone else picking up and running with it in the next General Assembly. Yeah. I think the conversation needs to happen. But I also think anytime we start identify a problem, it's a problem if someone's planting flags at midfield to rub your nose in it. There's a sportsmanship problem in this country. But listen, we also can't act surprised when things like this happen when the week before the game or leading up to, and that's what they call it, the game, leading up to the game, you talk about how much each side hates one another or how, people from Ohio won't even buy gas in Michigan because of what previous coaches said, or the fact that, Michigan refers to Ohio State as Ohio. And Ohio State refers to them as the team up north. So we can't be shocked when it spills over. That's not an excuse for it or justifying it, but we can't be surprised when it happens.
Well, I think you have to be able to exist. This goes for political differences. This goes for sporting differences. And sports differences should be underneath political differences, I think, just in terms of the amount of anger somebody expends. Like I'm a Browns fan. You're a Steelers fan. We're sitting here right now doing a program.
Do you want to talk about that game last week, too?
Well, see, we should be able to. We should be able to discuss it.
You probably want to talk about the one 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Yeah, that one I could talk about. So, how was Rosie at school after this last one? She was a little better?
She's better, but I don't know where she gets it from. She likes to start arguments with people. I don't know.
Did she plant a Steelers flag?
Must be her mom.
Oh, yeah, must be.
The conversations are just getting started. To get connected, check out 1850mainstreet.com. We don't data mine anyone or sell your information. Subscribe today so you don't miss a single conversation. We'll see you next time here at 1850 Main Street.